San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy has been heavily scrutinized throughout his young career, and no more so than right now after he threw 4 interceptions against the Ravens. Now, obviously, there's a lot of opinions back and forth about this game and this particular performance, but Kurt Warner, Hall of Fame quarterback, joined KNBR to discuss how he feels about Brock Purdy after this particular game. And I do think it is refreshing insight from a guy who's done it at the highest level, who can present us with how he sees how that game went and how he sees the 49ers progressing. Because I think one of the biggest questions is, what is Brock Purdy going to do from here? Is he going to regress? Is his confidence going to be shaken? What did Kurt Warner see in this game, and how does he feel about it? And how does he feel about Brock Purdy moving forward?
My question for you, Kurt, is about just what you think he was feeling, what it's like to be in that spot. Every time I looked at him and thought, man, he must be a little rattled right now after he had 3 picks and the Ravens extended their lead. The first play of the next drive, he steps up and hits Kittle over the middle, layers it over the linebacker. A really dangerous throw that he makes pretty consistently. And I thought, well, maybe he's not rattled. Maybe he's fine. Maybe it's not in his own head. And I'm sure it's hard to tell to a degree from the TV or even when you're on the field. But what was your impression just of what it looked to you like he was feeling? Did he get loose and fast? Did he get jittery? Those types of things that I guess you look for when a guy is throwing interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is we always have to understand that all of these guys, Brock or anybody that plays, Lamar, anybody that plays in this league, we've all had those games where things don't go our direction and we throw interceptions. But we also all have this level of confidence that has gotten us here to say, I'm not going to let the last play affect the next play, or the last game affect the next game. And that's part of playing the position is that, okay, yep, I got to have a short memory. I made a bad decision on the last one. Well, I can't hesitate and then make another bad decision on the next one. I got to go rip it. And, I've said that numerous games in my career. It seemed like I had one game every year where I threw 4 or 5 interceptions in the game. And my approach was always, if I threw 3, I'm going to go down swinging, and I'm going to try to make every play from here, to get us a win. Oh, shoot, I threw number 4. Well, I got to make every play from this point. And so you just play with a level of confidence, believing in who you are and what you're capable of, regardless of whether the result on that last play was what you wanted it to be. And Brock's played a lot of football, and he's had some of these games, and he'll have more of these games. And the bottom line is you can't let it affect you. You can't all of a sudden get conservative or second guess yourself. The best always come back and go, I'm going to go down. So I'm going to believe this next play. I'm going to read the next play the way I would always read it, and I'm going to throw it like I would always throw it. And if it gets intercepted, I'm going to do that on the next play. And so, that to me was what I saw from Brock is that, yeah, it was bad. Or, you have a tip play. He didn't second guess himself. He kept ripping the football and didn't always work out. That's part of the business, but that's what you want to see, at least me. I don't want to see a guy get conservative. I don't want to see a guy looking for checkdowns in a game like that, knowing checkdowns aren't going to win you that game. And I'm not playing for stats. I'm playing for wins, so you continue to attack. And if it leads to 4 or 5 interceptions, oh, well, and then you move beyond it and you go play your game the next week. So I thought that's what I saw from Brock, that he wasn't getting tentative. He wasn't playing scared because he had made some bad decisions or he had some things go against him. He's playing football, and that's exactly what I want to see from any quarterback.
One of the Ravens defenders said after the game, kind of matter-of-factly, Brock Purdy's a spot thrower, so we just had to know his spots and be disciplined and get to the spots that he was going to throw the ball to. Could you explain, what does that mean? And he made it sound very simple. Is it easy to do what they did? Is it repeatable to do what they did? Can the Niners adjust to that? Or, did they find something? Were they able to execute something that other teams just can't execute?
One more time. Repeat the beginning part of the question. What did they say?
He said basically Brock Purdy's a spot thrower, and so we had to know the spots and get to the spots.
Gotcha. Well, I think there's always something to that. And I think it makes sense. Like when I watch San Francisco's pass game, I think they very much are built that way, that, when I play the game, I always play with a certain structure, meaning that I am always trying to isolate or put a defender in conflict when I design a pass play. And so when that happens, I'm trying to get one guy above him and one guy below him, or one guy inside of him, one guy outside of him. So we're trying to stretch that defender. The 49ers don't always do that in their pass game. Whether it's off a play action where they're trying to get a pull on a linebacker or whatever that may be. So they do more of, I think, what you're talking about, spot throwing, where there's only one guy in a particular area, and you already talked about it, the way Brock layers the ball up over the linebacker. You often realize there's not a guy underneath that linebacker that can pull him down so it makes the throw over the top easier. He's got to kind of just layer it and set it over the linebacker and make that kind of special throw. And so I do believe they have a lot more of that kind of spot throwing, or, hey, my guy's going to be here and this is my first read. Can I find a way to get the ball to him or not? And so, yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense to a degree. But, I think there's also layers to that too, is that there's a specific timing where if you want to hit your back foot and throw it, but there's also some freedom to go, okay, if it's not open in kind of that first window, you can hold it and maybe hit the second window around that defender. But, a lot of that plays out to what's the pressure like? Do you have the ability to wait for that second window? And the timing of the other elements around it. So I think it makes sense within what they do offensively that, hey, if we can be in the spot and kind of take away, that hit the back foot, get the ball out, we're always going to have a better opportunity to succeed, forcing Brock to move through his progressions, taking away that first read, which has been such a big part of, what Kyle designs and what they've been good at all year, that it's always going to make the game a little bit harder on your quarterback. And I think they did that.
First of all, wanted to shout out Guy Haberman. Man, I used to listen to Guy Haberman every day when he was on the radio at 95.7 The Game. So it's really cool to see him back on the radio on KNBR. And also shout out to John Dickinson as well. I really enjoyed listening to these guys talk about the quarterback situation with Brock Purdy, and specifically what I loved the most about what Kurt Warner had to say about Brock and the struggles and the interceptions was how he perceived him to handle those mistakes. Obviously, every quarterback, every player is going to make a mistake throughout their career. It's impossible to play a perfect game. It's just not going to happen throughout the entirety of their career. So we had Brock Purdy throw for the most picks in his young career, and as a result, how is he going to rebound? What did Kurt Warner see? And Kurt said basically that what he saw from Brock Purdy was a guy who didn't shy away from the moment. Yes, things weren't going right. They were going wrong, and mistakes kept compounding, but Brock kept slinging the ball. He kept pushing the ball downfield. He didn't just start checking it down. He kept being aggressive, and he kept trying to put his team in a position to score points. And that was also my biggest takeaway from watching the tape, is that you could see Brock still he's already thrown 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions, and he's still throwing dots, layered throws over the middle linebacker. So Brock definitely didn't succumb to the moment. And I think that's one of the biggest things to take away from it. Was it a great performance? No, it wasn't, but it also wasn't the absolute worst performance. Obviously, when you throw 4 picks in a game, that's always going to be highlighted. Turnovers make it really difficult for teams to win. But I think, again, to Kurt's point, is Brock just kept fighting. Now, obviously, he got knocked out of the game, and Sam Darnold had to come in, so he couldn't finish it. But I do think that one of the key takeaways from this game is that Brock kept fighting, and that is a huge, huge element. These players have to have kind of a short-term memory, because good play, you have one good play, you got to swipe it, move on to the next. You have a bad play, you got to swipe it, move on to the next. You just have to live in small little chunks, because you can't allow what has happened to affect you on what hasn't happened yet. So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. I love that Kurt Warner talked about it, pointed it out, because I agree. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from that game. And that's why I feel confident with Brock moving forward. I don't think anything from this game is going to dictate him shying away from the moment. So as the 49ers continue to move forward, they got two games left in the schedule, Washington Commanders and the Los Angeles Rams. I think the 49ers will match up well against these teams and have an opportunity to get back and get right, and so will Brock Purdy. And I do think that is one of the biggest takeaways from this game. That obviously was an unfortunate loss. But moving forward, I think Brock is going to be able to settle in, and I don't think we're going to see too many more games like that. To me, it was an outlier. And I do appreciate what Kurt Warner had to say. If you want to listen to the full Kurt Warner interview, you can go to the link in the description. Click on it, take you to the KBR's podcast page. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.